Welcome to Everything is Learning, a space for curiosity, growth, and figuring things out as we go. We're glad you're here. Let's get into it.
Hello and welcome back. We are elated to have Cathy Pedrayes with us today. Cathy is a safety and security expert, author, and mom who has made it her mission to help people navigate the world a little smarter and a lot more prepared. Knowing for breaking down everything from everyday risks to online safety with clarity, she's built a massive following by teaching practical skills most of us wish we'd learned growing up. As a parent, Cathy brings a realistic perspective to raising capable, confident kids, focusing not just on keeping them safe, but on helping them think critically, trusting their instincts, and handling the unexpected. Her work is research-based, with a blend of real-life experience and her keen knack for spotting the things most people overlook. Whether she's talking about digital boundaries, personal safety, or small habits that make a big difference, Cathy's approach is equal parts insightful, empowering, and she will leave you asking, why didn't anyone teach me this sooner? That resonates for me.
100%.
Cathy, thank you so much for being here with us. We're very excited to learn with you and from you today.
I'm excited too. Let's get into it.
All right. If you could create a children's television show that described and taught safety, what would it be and why?
I think this would just go back to my original, early 2021 TikToks. I think I basically was a children's show in a way, very Dora the Explorer coded. But actually, it's always kind of low key been a dream to be on Blue's Clues because of the blue.
Yeah.
So I think it would be like a Dora because of the bilingual thing. Blue's Clues mishmash where I'm teaching digital literacy but I don't know the name. I don't know what I'd call it. Something, I don't know, something fun.
I would say Bluey, but we obviously already have that. That's awesome. Well, we talked offline with you about this, but we are massive fans.
Definitely.
We did not think we had a single chance to get you on, but like you said, you're a yes person, which thank God you are, because honestly, a lot of our listeners are either younger parents or newer grandparents.
Okay.
Or people who are like, okay, I'm getting ready to maybe think about starting a family. So I think we're in a place right now in 2026 where everybody needs to learn more about digital literacy and protection. And we're just so grateful that you're here today. So one of the big questions I feel like some of my friends had asked when I was like, oh, she's coming on, was what's a false sense of safety that many parents unknowingly pass on to their kids?
I would say the stranger danger conversations that we grew up with is probably one of the biggest, and it's still, goes viral every week amongst adults and whatever, but it's not really fact-based, and it's also just not really reality-based. We interact with strangers every single day. I'm interacting with strangers right now. Social media is all about interacting with strangers. Every time I go to the grocery store and ask, where's the milk? I'm interacting with a stranger. So it's not really accurate, and I think what it can do is, if we're too harsh with that advice, is it can make people too distrustful and not really critically aware of their surroundings, right? Because there are times when you will have to interact with a stranger. Maybe you hurt yourself and you need help. And, you have to think about, it goes back to situational awareness, right? It messes with that. If we're afraid of everything, we don't know how to pick out who the helpers are. So I would say that's one of the big ones that and it's hard to talk about online, because if you say one little thing, the whole internet comes after you and you're like, but it's wrong.
Yeah, well, I just read the other day and told my husband it's 93% of child abuse or abductions is from somebody you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, we were all just talking about people in the 90s, like Kaylee Polton, and that was a neighbor, right?
Yeah.
We still don't know about JonBenet Ramsey, but her name is coming up because of the Epstein files.
Yeah.
And there was another one you guys were talking about from Florida that I couldn't recall.
Jimmy Rice was a big one.
Yeah. And it's just a lot of the stories, or even Hollywood, will be like, oh, hey, just out of nowhere, we're snatched. So you assume it's somebody that you don't know. And when you hear about trafficking and things too, you assume that it's somebody you don't know. But the amount of people who are you're hearing that it's spouses or boyfriends or girlfriends, this is happening with again, that 93% is a big number.
And I'll share, I mean, it's happened within my own family. So I'm one
Oh,
of the like
wow.
93% statistics, but it was, yeah, it was a family member. And in my case, it wasn't, a lot of times it's like custody situations where
Mhm.
like dad and mom, and they're like, well, I'll just take the kid and run away. And, you know, a lot of times there's things like that. In my household, it was something similar, but there was also like developmental issues that played a factor. So it was like my little sister, her biological mom, but it was like in our so anyways, yeah, it happened actually after my wedding where like her biological mom the next morning when I wasn't home told her like, I'm taking you back home now, but there's like developmental issues for like why she doesn't have, full legal rights. And it wasn't a malicious thing, but we were definitely recorded with as like an abduction case, and NYPD was involved, and they recovered
Uh-huh.
her within like 8 or 9 hours or whatever it was. It was actually, they were little like Jessica Rabbit kind of crime figures too. Like they even had that little like Jessica Rabbit accent from the movie, and you're like, is this real life? But anyways, but, like even from the beginning, like we were concerned about basic things like, oh, is she being fed and snacks and whatever? But we weren't concerned in a malicious way. But still, that would like my family would be marked down as one of those statistics.
Wow.
And yeah, and it was like a family member, but it was like a weird like custody confusion situation, and that happens a lot.
Yeah,
Thanks for
having worked in
sharing with us.
schools, that's definitely something I think that comes up too. Like anybody who works at a school has probably experienced something like that as well.
Yeah,
So
100%. People
that's
coming
a
to school asking, especially now with people posting kids online, that kind of, I've heard parents talk about that happening, like if they have larger accounts and stuff.
yeah.
Good
I
point.
mean, that's another thing that like Marissa and I have talked about recently is not posting our kids' faces
Hmm.
online, and just because of how benign something can be and somebody could take it and just do whatever they want with it. It's horrifying.
Yeah.
Um but
I'm
I
in
mean,
that same boat of like the not posting. It sucks. I don't want to. My kids are the cutest kids in the world. They do the cutest things in the world. And it's
right.
honestly such a burden. But
Yeah.
I'm
I mean,
like, well, I guess it's the right thing to do. I don't know.
no, I get it. And like we had conversations, my partner and I had conversations with people in our family to say like, listen, our kids are 2, 3, 4 years old. They can't tell us whether or not they're okay with this.
Hmm.
So I feel like it's some kind of version of I don't know. I don't know how to like put a word on it, but it doesn't feel right if they don't have their autonomy and if they're not able to make that decision critically either.
Yeah.
So but you were talking about like fear, and I know Marissa and I talked about part of the reason we wanted you on is we both have a lot of fears about raising our kids and autonomy. And we want to make sure that we're not projecting our fears. So, how can adults teach children to trust their instincts
Hmm.
without us projecting or instilling fear?
I think one of the things, and you could really start this like early and do it, frequently, is well, one through conversations, right? But through giving them kind of like real world practice. So I think earlier I mentioned the grocery store example with like the cereal box or whatever, where we're interacting with strangers. But that's actually a really good thing that your kid can do. Ask the grocery clerk where the cereal is or whatever, so they can practice like having confidence and interacting with a stranger. And even though it's a simple example of a cereal box, that skill applies to other safety things as well. So like, going to the restaurant, ordering their own meal, asking for help when they need to. There's little ways where we can create that environment where they could practice those skills, so that way when they grow up and need to do it in a more serious situation, they don't feel like paralyzed by never having had to interact with an
For
adult, or
sure.
never, it's like it's just muscle memory. And frankly, a lot of adults sometimes struggle with that too, so we can all kind of practice that. And actually, since I'm an improviser, maybe I'll throw in improv as as one of the ways to do that, because they have classes for kids too, and it does teach you to interact conversationally with strangers and like how to hold that conversation and whatever. But I think another thing that you could do other than practicing those situations is, sometimes when we're out at about grocery store, restaurant, whatever, a stranger will interact with us. Oh, I love your dress. I love your shoes. I love your hair. Oh, how cute. Are they twins? Like those kinds of conversations. And you can then follow up with your kids and be like, how did that feel? Was that weird? Was that great? Well, maybe don't plant the idea of it being weird, but how did that feel? Did that feel like a normal conversation? Because if something felt off, like then they can talk about it and talk about why. And it's just an opportunity to have, a controlled safety conversation where parent is there and they're able to monitor everything and keep the kids safe, but you're still able to like kind of teach your kids about why this was an okay interaction or maybe why it wasn't, depending on the situation. And another version of this that I do with my kids who are still young, 2 and 4, but like the YouTube thumbnails, we sometimes the thumbnail will have like the toy so Disney cars, right? My son was really into Disney cars for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Get
he
that?
would pick a show based off of the thumbnail. Oh, this one shows the Disney cars in the pool. But then the show would come on and they weren't in the pool, they were in the sand or whatever. So I started like introducing the idea of how we can't always trust what we see online, right? We can't always trust the thumbnails. We can't always, just as like a small little planting the seed. And it's really mundane and very low risk. But, it's again, just an example because I know I gave physical world examples earlier with the restaurant and the grocery store, but I mean, honestly, one of the major risks is online. So, doing
Right.
both.
Love
Those are great
all of that.
suggestions. I know, 'cause it's low
Yeah.
stakes.
Yeah.
The recall for me as you were describing that, I love that you had talked about doing that with, like, a grocery store employee, like, identifying people who should be in an
Hmm.
environment versus who might not shouldn't be or, like,
Yeah.
that they belong there, they're being paid to do that, that's their role. Our parents did it with, like, calling in and ordering pizza. I used to be so like, talking on the phone, and I actually think that
Talking on the phone.
now
Yeah, that
Gen
one was
Z and like, that
traumatic.
there is probably a lot of anxiety around that now, but, like, calling in to order a pizza used to, like, stress me out, but, like, that's what our parents would do. "You want pizza? You call, you practice," and it was
Yeah.
and then before caller ID, it was, "Hello, who is it, please?" Like, that was how
Yes.
you screened, like, what do I do next?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I love the examples, and I think you have tailored them to now what is more appropriate and realistic given the technology, but that sort of lends us into this question about a lot of the digital safety that we were taught in the '90s and early 2000s is outdated. Technology is moving so fast, and as parents, it's challenging to keep up with, so I'm grateful for accounts like yours, or we're grateful for
Mm.
accounts like yours, but what is one digital safety rule you think is outdated and what would we do or what should we do to replace it?
Mhm.
I think when it comes to digital safety and being online, probably all the rules, but but
True.
maybe the biggest one might still be the stranger situation and just
Okay.
the sort of distrust, which also applies to adults as well. Like it's just like kind of basic media literacy, but there's a lot of scams that specifically target kids, right? And again, we're talking like this is maybe low stakes compared to the more extreme scenarios that a parent immediately thinks of and wants to be protective of. But, like the kid's Roblox account is a
Yep.
huge target for scams. Like kids have been scammed out of like millions, if not billions, because of Roblox, plus all the other scary stuff of like taking conversations offline and getting groomed and whatever.
Yeah.
Like there's all that too, but even just like the basic things, and actually scams and some of those tactics, they tend to overlap, right? Like with a lot of the trying to get conversations offline and, promising things. So I would say um some of the some of those like old safety rules probably didn't exist when it comes to scam, or maybe they were based more on urban legends, right? Like, oh, the perfume bottles out of the trunk of the car, which I don't
Or
know if it's ever
candy
happened. Or
or a
like the Halloween,
dog.
right? The
Yes.
Halloween candy, like all of that stuff.
Right.
I don't know, no evidence that it's ever happened, but things that there is evidence of is, you know, the scams online, the people trying to take conversations off, the shopping, the fake codes, like the trying to get you to connect to, bad Wi-Fi's or
Yeah.
like
Click
that kind
this
of stuff.
link. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Oh, actually, a really big one that targets kids is like this is more through WhatsApp groups or whatever that the kids have like the school chats. But it's things like, oh, here's like the top 10 ugly list at school. Click to see if you're on it kind of thing. And of course, someone's like, oh, am I on it? But then that's just like a phishing page to steal your, your login and password. And then the risky thing is, because this actually happened at a friend's middle school, then the risky thing is if they get that password, which maybe also because kids are really bad with their passwords. So that's a safety tip. That's a safety tip. But anyway, so then that same password is reused on their Instagram and all of that. And maybe in their draft folders, they have kind of private pictures with the boyfriend or with their best friends or whatever that then the hacker can either post publicly if they want to just mess with them because they can, or use to extort information. That's happened. So sometimes those little links of like, top 10 ugly list at school can actually lead to more stuff.
Yeah. I,
Wow.
I just don't click anything.
That's a good rule.
Right? I know if it's
don't.
from a stranger, I'm like, okay, whatever.
Okay, so Marissa, do you remember the time when Dad got that email that he is actually of African descent? Our dad is the whitest of white,
Nigerian prince?
and we were related to a Nigerian prince, and they want to give us like $3 million.
I know he was like the Michael Scott of.
Oh,
I
it was
love The
so
Office and
bad.
stuff. It was like the Michael Scott of our family. Yes, I know.
Our poor dad, all the time, everything gets stolen. Like, and we love our dad, but he has like a burner phone now because he's so afraid that the phone is hacked, and he's gone to Verizon 150 times, and they keep telling him your phone isn't hacked, just stop clicking things. But then it's like, hey, you own the IRS like $3,000 from 2024, and he clicks it, and he's like, they got into my phone again. And it's like, it's so hard because I think of people like around my dad's age in their 70s and 80s, and I think about like all that they've been through in their life and how much technology has changed, and the fact that people are targeting them is horrific. And it's like, okay, Dad, get a burner phone. Like, if that makes you happy, get a burner phone. That's what he calls it, like his burner work phone. And I'm like, okay, we've watched a lot of Liam Neeson movies.
I know, right? For real. It's still this high-tech gadget device that contains Wi-Fi. It's not like a flip phone or a pager.
You can still have the internet. You can still get a text message. Click the link and you're done. But like, I just, what's a safety like habit that
I got you.
pays off that isn't really taught, especially for people who are most vulnerable when it comes to technology?
Okay, and this is a little Cathy invention, but I whatever. It applies actually both. Yeah, it applies to kids, it applies to the elderly, it applies to yourself, it applies to everyone. But okay, so some of my layered safety rules. One, your dad is not totally off with the burner phone, but I personally use voice over IP apps instead. So that's my burner. So I have 3 different phone numbers. One is like my real phone number that's linked to like, my bank, my health, whatever. Not that those things can't be hacked, but whatever.
Sure.
It's that phone number. And then I also have some that I use for like grocery store, store rewards accounts. And I forget it all the time. So when I get to the register, I have to, pull up my Google Voice or whatever. And then I also use one. So I volunteer with, I'm a court volunteer. So I volunteer on foster care cases and stuff like that. And because I know that your phone number links to all of your social media accounts and everything, and I don't want my teen foster cases knowing that I'm an internet influencer or whatever on TikTok, I have yet another phone number that I use just for that. And there's a lot of ways to do it. There's like if you're, for example, I have Verizon. So Verizon has like a business app that you could do it with. The tricky part is sometimes these voice over IP addresses don't connect to WhatsApp. So like Google Voice, for example, wouldn't connect to WhatsApp if you want to also use WhatsApp, but my Verizon one does. So there's little things like that. Ring Central is another one that's big. But anyway, so I do that. And that would be good for kids, like maybe not putting mom and dad's actual phone number in the app when it's signing up, maybe having like a secondary number, just because that is a way to link data between all of these things. And if anything goes wrong, if the account gets hacked, whatever, you just trash the number. Done. And I do a similar thing with emails. So I have, I don't know, too many email addresses, but I also layer
Yeah, same.
everything in. So I have the one that I've had my whole life that's linked to like 400 accounts because unfortunately, well, whatever, when the internet was a thing, when we were in middle school, we didn't realize that all this data tracking surveillance stuff was going to happen down the road. So we linked everything to like our Limp Bizkit email address and whatever.
Yeah, we were 98 degrees. Marissa and I
Yeah,
shared
Oh
an
my
account. We
gosh,
were
yeah,
98. We get it. We get it. Limp Biscuit.
98.
Love that.
Yes, at
yeah.
yahoo.com.
Yeah. So, back then we didn't know, but now we know. So I have one that's like just for my smart home devices because I
Oh,
don't
that's
use that
smart.
for anything else. So then if that did get breached, it would be through one of my smart home companies, but it's less likely as opposed to the using the same email that I put for every shopping purchase that I make and every newsletter that I sign up for. So I do things like that. So I think I call this, yeah, just layers of security. But that's one of the things that I do that would apply for parents, it would apply for kids. And then that way, if one thing gets hacked or leaked or whatever, you just have to deal with that little house of safety versus having to, go across your entire life. And similarly, obviously like two-factor authentication and stuff like that on your settings. And with the IRS example that you mentioned with your dad, because I just filmed something about this yesterday that I haven't posted yet, but the IRS has a PIN to like lock it to prevent people from, filing taxes on your behalf. So that's one that you could do as an adult. And actually for kids on that topic, freezing kids' credit is another one. It is kind of a pain because you have to do it with actual paperwork that you print and mail, which is annoying because adults can just do it online by clicking a button. But especially if there's like toxic family situations, custody battle things, then it's like extra important because they're very high risk for stealing like the kid's identity. And then they grow up with
That,
no credit and they're like, how do I fix this?
yeah.
And yeah, good luck.
That's so
Wow.
smart. Thank you for sharing that.
For real.
Yeah.
Because we like to allow our kids to start lines of credit, we cut up the cards as soon as we received them, but didn't know that you could freeze their line of credit and their name.
Hmm.
In a scenario where that you freeze it, can they still get the credit history, like credit score, or do you
Yeah,
know?
I
Like the
believe so. They
benefits.
just
Okay.
can't open like new accounts. Somebody can't buy a
Okay.
car under their name, which is weird. You would think that they would verify
Oh,
that. Like, oh, I can't give a bank loan to a 2-year-old, but
for sure.
somehow it happens. And yeah, I mean, even I had like a medical bill that was on my credit report, and I was like, but this is weird. It should have gone to my mom. And it was just, in that case, it was like the hospital made a mistake. But I was like, why is this on my credit report as a delinquency? Like, I didn't even know this existed.
Sure.
Right.
So yeah, and that's like a small example because it was like $200 or something, but people do it for larger things.
Well, I was gonna say blame
Wild.
Doge. They accessed all your accounts.
Oh yeah, with the
So
social security and all that stuff. Yeah,
yes,
the data stuff is the data security is not great. That's why I always advocate for getting companies to minimize data collection as opposed to collecting and then saying like, "Oh, we'll just protect it." And it's like, "Oh, but you've consistently shown you really can't. So just
Mhm.
just
Oh,
don't do it."
we were
Yeah.
just talking about that before you had logged on. Marissa, what was the one that you were talking about?
Cloaked.
Is Cloaked
Oh,
worth it? Are those kinds of
oh, like the
websites
get
worth it?
clothes. Oh, yes, I haven't used Cloaked personally, but, I use, like I guess it's one of their competitors, Delete Me. I've also
Yes, you're right,
used
exactly.
yeah, I've also used OneRep, which is not as popular, not as big, and I don't think as robust, but I used that because, Delete Me at that time didn't really have family plans, and I believe now they do have family plans. And
Oh,
what's another one? Incogni is another one.
yeah.
There's also if you have, like antivirus and stuff like that, and you want like a large, like all of that security package, then Aura is worth checking out because I believe they also offer those services. Another thing though, related to that, and actually this would be good to probably put with kids too, is Google offers like the results about you page where you'll get flagged if your information pops up on their internet, right? Like their search results. And then you get flagged and then you can ask for things to be taken down. So, mainly that would be from data broker websites. Like if a newspaper publishes that your kid won the regional whatever. You're not going to get that taken down. Although you could probably message the editor and be like, hey, can you just do first name, last initial? Like, we don't want the full name. Unless you're trying to get recruited into college, right? There's all these like but situations.
Yeah.
But I have like messaged editors of newspapers, like through my court volunteer work, when we got initiated, like I was like, hey, can you take like that name off? I don't want it associated with that or whatever. So yeah, so people, but that is a free service. And then there is something that I'm seeing people talk about online now. It's a little bit more complicated maybe, but people are using AI to find all of the results and get things taken down. The only thing is, I think it's pretty much the same as like Googling, and you don't want to necessarily give the AI like too much personal information. So it could get a little tricky, but I think the services are worth it just because I don't have the time to do it myself, you know?
Right.
So I
Due
use it. I
diligence
use
is
it.
critical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do
And
know
I don't want
that,
to waste the water.
Right, yeah.
AI.
I do know that like Delete Me is used by a lot of journalists too. Like they have a 20% off for like media organization. I won't mention which one just in case that's like considered. But anyways, but yeah, so you know, like I know that they're pretty good.
That's
Nice.
really
Okay.
helpful.
That's
Thank
really
you.
helpful.
Having somebody who's actually vetted these as
Right.
opposed to just like seeing them in passing and think they're a really great idea hits
Yeah.
different. Moving to a different topic, but if every parent listening could teach their child, let's go with just three things to better navigate the current world, what would you suggest they be?
Okay, so big one is to verify information like early on, right? So that'll help prevent the scam things. That'll help prevent the, you know, the 10 unhot people at school or whatever, because you look at the link and you think, and then the friend who sent it, maybe instead of texting them there, you call them or you email, or well, maybe not email because kids hate email, but you know, you do DM them like through another thing to be like, did you just send this? What's that about? You know, just some way of verifying the information. Or even like, oh, I saw this game that I want to buy online. Okay, cool. Let's quickly look up reviews on that game first to see if it's real, to see if that website's real, because I've never heard of that website. Maybe like Walmart has that game or whatever it is. And then, so that, I would say that like level of distrust really prevents like 98% of issues. But then also having conversations about it, that's a big one. And I think what's hard for parents when it comes to conversations, and there are a lot of tools online, like if you want to have conversations specifically about Minecraft or Roblox or Instagram, a lot of these websites have like family safety centers, and some of them have contracts that like the kids can sign before, you know, downloading the app, or conversation starters. I think Mozilla Firefox or the Mozilla Foundation, I think also has one, and they're a nonprofit. So they're, you know, if you want to go with someone who's like not big tech because you think maybe something a little bit more independent would be more, you know, nuanced, whatever. Like Mozilla Foundation is one that has a site dedicated to that. But having those conversations early, and I think what's key is that it's a conversation, not a lecture, because it's easy
Love
to
that.
yeah.
Yes.
Because it's easy to just kind of like talk at kid. And sometimes the kids, I get it, because I have a sister who's like 18 years younger than me. And so I get it. But sometimes they just kind of like shut down and don't want to have the conversation. And you're like, why are you shutting down right now? Like, I'm just asking a simple question. And, you know, and so maybe, I don't know, you just got to like re-strategize. But I think one of the things that I emphasize, and I do this with my kids earlier. So, you know, my sister has her own thing because I'm not mom, but like with my kids, I can control it a little bit. Where it's like, where I'm giving you advice on something, it's because I love you and I want you to, you know, to be healthy, and I don't want anything to happen to you. It's not coming from like a place of control. And a really small example of this is like medicine. Like my kid who had scarlet fever recently did not want to take the amoxicillin. And I was like, this is going to help you feel better. Mommy's only telling you things to help. And honestly, it worked. I also told him, like, this is a very serious illness, and if you don't take this, you could die. But so maybe
a little
maybe
bit of
a little
fear
treat
mixed with some autonomy.
The like
I like that.
1600s maybe, but
yeah,
like
it's
like,
not
not false. You could have.
It's
if
true.
without the medicine. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't even think he registered that because he has no idea what death even is, but whatever.
They hear it
know,
though
like,
sometimes, and they're like,
they hear it.
"That's not good."
So anyways, but I was like, this is coming from a place of me wanting you to be healthy so you can play with your friend. And it was, a small medicine example. But then the other thing that I would say is like the situational awareness that I meant. And again, it starts small, right? Like we're in a parking lot, cars can't see you, like small like that. But then also, when they're older and walking on a sidewalk and it's like, that guy's walking a little close. Let's like pretend to do this or, whatever, like something to teach them to be aware of their surroundings without being paranoid. Because unfortunately, I feel like a lot of times if I think to my younger days, actually, no, that's not true. My mom, I grew up in like Miami in the 80s, like situational awareness was big. but some things that were like advice from mom, I probably overlooked until I was in situations where I was like, okay, I get it
I
now.
know, right? It's sort of like because they become the sole source of your recommendations and role modeling. At some point, it like becomes background noise, and then it takes someone else, like a coach or a friend, to then guide you until you experience said thing. I can recall exactly what you're talking about. A situation happened that my mom warned me of, and it could even be as simple as like leftovers. I used to complain all the time about leftovers, and then I had to go cook for myself, and I freaking love leftovers. Right? Something as simple as that to like really hone in on, hey, she was
I
right.
thought you were going to bring up the time
Mom was
that
right.
our baby sister almost got stolen. Like,
well,
that was wild.
Well, okay. Yes, like she would hide. Our baby sister would hide in clothes racks in stores, like zero
I used to do that.
No, I'm
ramifications.
talking about the guy
I know
who
you
followed us.
us out of Walmart or whatever, Kmart or whatever store. Yes, that was scary. You're right. I do remember that. But the point is, like, that was why, to the earlier point about how do you not project your own fear, but like, legitimately, there are scary things out there, and you do want to practice. So when the time comes, like, I believe I saw on your page that you had sort of named where the feeling resides depending on if it's anxiety or stress or fear. And I apologize if it wasn't you, but I think then that your page led me to someone that found
maybe.
And it was like what the feelings were and naming them. So if it's like in your chest, it's anxiety. If it's in your stomach, it's like instinct kind of thing. And that sort of helped me when I end up approaching this with my own children. That will help distinguish like what is fear and like a healthy fear versus what is like just nervousness, anxiousness, jitters. And
interesting. I'm gonna look into that actually, because I didn't really think about, but you're right. I don't know, just
it like you feel it in different places,
thinking about
right?
myself, you do feel it in different places. Yeah, I think that seems true.
I feel it always in my stomach, so I'm paranoid of everything. But we all know that about me. So, and that's a hard thing.
Not without justification.
No, it's not without justification. But like we talked about, I think it was like 3 times. Our baby sister was super cute. But she almost got, every time we were with our mom, the 3 of us girls, everybody always wanted to take her. I don't know. Like, she was definitely the cutest out of all of us, but like,
if she opened her mouth, think differently.
Oh, they would have given her back if she could talk. But like,
she's really funny.
But, no, it is. It's one of those things where like it never happened when we were with our dad. It only ever happened when we were with our mom.
Weird.
And it happened like,
well, I guess
3
not really
times.
weird, but it's
right
like 2
when
on
you
the
think
nose
about it
to feel
statistically.
Yeah.
But it was. And Marissa and I were only like 4 and 5 years old. We're running into a Kmart and we're telling people like, somebody's trying to steal our sister. Like, please call the cops. You know, like it's terrifying, and like the situational awareness, those kinds of things. But Marissa, do you remember the game that Dad used to play where he was like, you have to know exactly where you are at all times? And then we watched Taken, and he was like, list out all the things that you see, and like you see him like getting captured and seeing the street signs and stuff. It's just like, those are the games that our parents played.
Wait, was that like find the emergency exit kind of stuff?
No, sort of.
It was.
No, yes, it was. It's the same. It's a correlation. That wasn't the practice. That wasn't the exercise. But essentially, you could get there from what they were having us practice.
Yeah, so, it was like if somebody took you, are you going north, south, east, or west? Like, we didn't do Girl Scouts. We did, do you know your direction?
Yeah, but it's really hard when the way in which directions are given are by landmarks and not by street names. So like a white horse statue, or the big oak with the wooden swing, right? Like
Yeah.
those were part of the things that you had to notice.
No, but I mean, I feel like that would help. Nowadays, you could tell where things are based on like the shadow on the grass. So
It's
Yeah.
so true.
No,
Yes,
it
you're
is
right.
true. And we joke that in the family that I have a traumatic photographic memory because of this. I could tell
She
you
does.
exactly where we
It's
are.
emotional and photographic.
It is. It's both. And now my daughter, who I swear I have not projected any of this onto, can tell you exactly where she is at all times, and goes
maybe it's
one
a
time and
skill.
remembers. It's that right. And people talk
Learned
about like,
behavior.
passing on generational trauma, like through your body, and I'm like, maybe they're onto something here. But yeah,
Maybe. I haven't figured out what my trauma will be yet, but my kids are you know, like they won't jump on the edge of the couch. I do let them jump on the couch, but they jump where they can like hold onto the back of it. And I'm like, that's probably all the time, but that's good trauma. That's good trauma. I
yes,
don't want 'em to
right.
fall off.
Safety. Okay, so ultimate safety. If you could tell everybody one thing immediately that they could apply today,
Mm.
what is your ultimate safety tip or advice?
I would, so I have a theory. I think it'll pan out. But I have a theory that the whole like gentle parenting movement is actually going to lead to like safer kids, because people are willing to have tough conversations and conversations where you like actually hear your kids and stuff like that, which is
Mm.
different than I think different than I was raised. So I think it's different than like the previous generation, where like you know, you are the kid. You do this because you are kid and I am adult and you are still kid. And so I think that I really think that those conversations are key, because when kids get into trouble, which they will get a weird message, they will get a weird scam thing, like they will have a friend that tells them to, you know, sneak out and do whatever. Like when that happens, which inevitably will happen, they'll be comfortable coming to mom or dad or whatever parent in charge, adult in charge, and saying, you know, this happened, I don't know how to handle it. And as long as like parent is, you know, not like you're punished because you're around this, you know, like as long as they approach it in a, I am preparing you with the skills to be an adult in the future, and we are going to like, you know, because I feel like the other instinct is just take the phone right away. And if
Yeah.
taking the phone right away applies when they didn't wash their hoodies, they didn't unload the dishwasher, they went out with a friend who, you know, drank. If the thing is always take away the phone, that's not really like a natural consequence like of that behavior, right? And so I think that this whole movement of like natural consequences and gentle parenting and conversations, whatever, I think it'll lead to like a more safer future person. This is a hypothesis, but I would say that's like the biggest tip. Because I do think it works. And I mean, even though my kids are still little, I see how like on a small scale, like even like tantrums and stuff like that, I'm able to avoid and I'm not permissive. I'm very
Right.
strict.
There's a
And when
difference.
yeah. And when I say something, don't ask me again because the answer is not changing. And that's it. You could cry about it, but nothing is going to change. Yeah. And it's like, so I'm very consistent, but, I found that employing some of those strategies has really worked. Like even just avoiding small issues at home with like tantrums. So I could just imagine that being a bigger thing going forward with like older kids. And I've also compared this with some of my friends who have teens and whatever, and just anecdotally. So this is my working hypothesis right now.
Love
Good
that.
one.
And
Well,
I guess I would say one more thing actually on that note, which is I feel like parents do have the tools that they need, right? Like they've lived through the world. They maybe haven't seen every single scam available to them on the planet, but they do have the tools. They have the instinct. It's just applying it to like a different medium.
Oh, I love that. Yeah,
Me too.
that makes it so you always make things accessible and easy.
Yeah.
And that's what we love about you.
Yes.
Very important.
It is. So we ask a final question, but I feel like maybe you already answered it a bit with your theory, but I'm going to ask it anyway. We
Okay.
believe raising humans is one of the most powerful learning spaces. What lesson do you hope we start teaching more consciously and collectively around the world to make permanent and positive change?
So yeah, I guess some of it is duplicated, but the other thing that maybe would be like a good lesson is the trust less concept, right? Like the same, going back to like basic media literacy and, you know, the whole idea with scams and like verifying, like I think the trust less is another equal safety tool. The gentle conversations, and the less trusting. By the way, even if parents, like when my kids question me, when they want to know, good, fantastic. When my my daughter's like feisty and whatever and giving me a hard, love that. Want to encourage that. Like even against mom. And sometimes I tell them, like, you can do this to me in the safety of our home. Please don't do this at school because I don't want to call. And they seem to respect that. They seem to, because I get it. Like sometimes kids want to, they want to be a little smart. They want to, all right, fine. You can experiment within the safety of our home. Don't let me get a call from school that you hit someone or whatever. They don't do that. They're kids. But you know what I mean? So,
Right.
so yeah, I would add that, the trusting and like the conversations, and encourage them to act at home the same way you'd want them to in public if it was some creepy dude approaching them on the street.
Right.
Freaking love
100%.
that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We need to raise kids who can think for themselves and not compliant.
Yes.
And as a compliant child, that really would have
Me too.
kept me, like, that will help me survive as an adult.
Yeah.
You know what I
So-
should mention too? That, by the way, sorry, biggest series ever that I've never mentioned at all in this entire, lying. You can lie. If something is weird and you just want to get out of it, just freaking lie. Is this your house? No, I'm just dropping off an Uber Eats order. Whatever. Just lie. It's fine. Nothing's going to happen to you. It's fine. Well,
Right.
I don't want to
that
make any
is-
claim, but like just lie. No one cares that you lied if it's for safety. They
Right.
will
Right.
care if you're like, lying in a like a
Pathological.
compulsive friendship way. Yeah. But for safety, it's fine.
I like
Well
that one.
said.
Yeah, absolutely. Kathy, it's been such a pleasure. We've learned so
Yes.
much, and you verified so much for us too. But where can our listeners connect with you?
Oh, so I am on the internet, but just my name, Cathy Pedrayes, is good.
And
On like
you're
the
on,
handle on everything.
on everything.
Instagram and YouTube and Facebook to a lesser extent, but don't expect too many responses on the comments, and TikTok.
Great. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But I do
again.
respond to DMs on Instagram, as you know.
Yes, we do know, which we love. Thank you for
Proofs
your
in the pudding.
accessibility. We
Yes.
really appreciate it. Thanks again, Kathy. And to our listeners, we hope you tune in for the next episode. Stay tuned.
Thanks for spending your time with us at Everything is Learning. Keep being curious, keep learning, and we look forward to catching you again next time.